Second. Hey,
Would everyone please stand for the pledge of allegiance and remain standing for a short invocation?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dear God, as we gather this evening, this council asks for strength, courage, and wisdom. We thank you for blessing this town. We thank you for giving us the privilege of serving this town. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
amen.
Call to order the April 2nd, 2019 meeting of the Mooresville Town Council. Members have had an opportunity to read the minutes from our previous meeting. I need a motion to either approve or amend the minutes.
I make a motion that we approve the minutes as they are.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
New business for our scheduling with IDM. We had the clarifier bids. Darren had presented these at our last meeting, just to kind of give us an idea of what we were up against. Council remembers these did come in just a little bit higher than what we thought they were going to. In speaking to both Darren and a representative of the low bid company, the ideas of making it smaller came back as kind of not a good choice the way that the pricing is on it. Darren can elaborate on that. There were some options as far as reusing some equipment, or maybe some equipment possibly could be kept in place. I don't think that that's anything that we can count on. I think that at this time our options are to proceed with the low bid, completely rebid it, which I'm afraid that if we do, I don't have any indication that anyone misbid it or thought that they could do a better job on it. And Darren, I don't know if you...
I would concur with that.
We do have our compliance plan scheduled with IBM, and we are on schedule, just a shade ahead at this point in time, but we need to make a decision tonight how we want to proceed. Darren, do you have anything you can add to that?
The two things you wanted me to look at from last night was to get the cost for possibly a smaller clarifier. We did get with the contractor looking at both the current one that's currently bid is a 60-foot diameter, which matches your other clarifiers out there. We looked at what would, if you got a 55-foot diameter and a 50-foot. The 55-foot had about a $27,000 potential cost savings, and the 50-foot had about a 42% cost savings. Not as significant in the grand scheme of things, but there was a little savings there. We did reach out. The other concern we had, if you changed the diameter, would it require you to go back to IDEM for a permit? We did reach out to IDEM, even though they wouldn't necessarily would like to see you stay with the 60, would not require you, if you did go to a smaller one, to get a permit. They just required, if you did decide to do that, they are notified so that they can update their records. But so that was a little bit of good news, is that they wasn't going to make you go through the process of getting another permit because of the change in size.
Comments or questions?
Well, obviously, I've looked at this, and we asked to see what a reduction would be, and I know that 42,000 doesn't seem like an awful lot, but it seems like an awful lot to me. And since IDEM essentially said it's okay from an operational sense, they'd like to keep it for operations sake, but I don't know without talking to Danny to see if that really upsets the operation. If we go from 60 to 50, if we can save $42,000, let's try to save $42,000. That's my 2 cents.
Danny's concerned because, you know, what this does is this gives us the storage in a heavy rain event. His concern is 10 foot off of a 60 foot circle is going to be 10% of our capacity.
Volume wise, it's roughly just under 95,000 gallons.
And the total volume,
Total volume is just a little over 300,000 gallons.
so it's going to be about 30%.
Yeah.
So we're going to lose 30% of the volume to save less than 1% or 0.5% of. I don't know. I think that it, as designed, the 42,000. I'm afraid that if we short it up, I think we'll regret it.
It would require the operations to make adjustments because the flow split, because of the smaller tank, you'll have to adjust the flow split. You can't do it, it's another operational thing you'll have to work through.
As opposed to filling 2 tanks at one time.
Basically, if you have 2 tanks at one time, it makes you're splitting the flow, you have a flow structure where you split it to the 2 tanks. It's easier if they're both the same elevation type of thing, so the equal split, you get a much more equal split. What it amounts to is you'll have to adjust one so that you don't feed the smaller tank as quickly. It's operational things that you have to work through. I'm not saying it can't be worked through, it just makes it a little more complicated to operate.
My opinion is that we've got a 60-foot tank there versus trying to keep them, as staff changes, to know that they need to be adjusting those tanks. It seems, for what the savings, I think we're probably money ahead of sticking with the low bid at this time, my opinion.
Well, very rarely I say that I want to spend more money. I do not have. I mean, still in the same token, I'm afraid we're giving up more than a percentage of volume than the cost savings. We do look at, if we look at our wastewater treatment, we do have operating funds of $1.4 million. Sandy had indicated that she tries to keep that about $1 million. We do have the opportunity to transfer at some point in time $400,000 out of the operating into the plan improvement. Currently, the plan improvement has $1.55 million. It still gives us a cushion in the event of catastrophe or something to move on there.
Darren, from this guy you talked to, the item, and I appreciate you doing that. Preference for operations sake, which you explained, but have no real objection since overflow rate would still be in reasonable range at peak rate.
Yeah, that's what they look at as far as judging whether or not
Correct.
you sized it correctly. For the 10 state standards is what item goes by, requires the overflow rate to be, let's make sure I got the right one here I'm looking at here. It has to be 1,000 or less. And both of those all come in to peak. The peak to 60 is at 619. The 55 would be at 737, and the 50 would be at 891. So the 50 is approaching the 1,000 limits. So that is gallons per day per square foot. If you want to know what the overflow rate is, so it's still with the peak flow. It's within the range of IDEM looks at and utilizes. So that's the reason they were able to allow you to do that.
I think if we go back 10 years ago, we were well within our ranges of ammonia discharge parts per billion, and overnight the standards changed and we were in violation.
That happens a lot.
I want to make sure that we have the cushion. My thoughts, council members, is we've got by for 2 years with that. IDM wants it back in place there. It will cut our capacity our plant capacity now without having it. It does give us a storage facility in the event of a major rain event to try to keep our suspended solids down. We're fortunate enough that through frugal spending, through good, keeper of the gold here, we have the money to fund this project without any borrowing or any other expenses to go along with it. I'm comfortable with going ahead and letting the project with the promise that if there's any way that we can save money, the contractor will go ahead and help us with that. Now, how often does that happen? I don't know. I know that this company has worked for the town before. They did do the UV lighting when we went from the chlorine to the UV lighting as far as bacteria, and I think that they did find some cost savings in that project. But I don't know, 2012, 2011.
I don't know how those numbers in front of me, I would not know.
But that was one of my questions to Dan was, do we have any experience with this company? And we actually do.
I'll make a motion that we approve the low bid as we talked about before and proceed with the project.
Motion been made to accept the bid from Feinemann Construction for $1.317 million. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Motion been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Two.
Would you oppose it?
Yes, please.
Then Jessica, move forward. Next item on the agenda is Zachary Finch. Zachary was here at the last meeting. Zachary, are you here with the owners or the respective purchase buyers?
Are they here? Oh, man. Doesn't look like they showed up. Well, we can't really move forward if they didn't show up, can we?
Well, what you can do, Zachary, I've got the waivers and release, and you and the prospective purchasers can go in the clerk's office. Sandy's a notary, just has to be signed and notarized, so if you could arrange that.
Clerk's office? Okay, yeah.
You could get
That's no problem.
Yes, it's downstairs
Okay.
on the other end.
Well, now, wait a minute. Let's make sure that the council is clear with that, because I don't know if they had questions
Can
before.
I just sign my half now?
Oh, you can, yes,
Well,
if the council is will approve it.
council members, we had asked that, and I don't know, did you reach out to them? Did they say they would be here, or?
My mother did, and I'm pretty sure they said they would be here. I actually don't even have their phone number. I'm gonna have to get a hold of my mother to get a hold of them.
Yeah, and without alternate signatures, this is not effective, so. Depends on what the council wants to do.
I think that we'd show that it was pretty important that they be here, and they're not. So, I mean, I don't know if we want to table this, if we want to approve it tentative upon signatures, comments from the board.
It's kind of concerning to me that they're not here.
That's concerning to me as well.
Well, there's a motion. You want to table this, give them one more opportunity, or do you want to move on?
I would make a motion that we table it, give them one more opportunity, make it clear to them that this probably isn't, or I wouldn't vote for it till
The closing is on the 5th.
they,
So can we do that notary? Can we do the notary if I can?
I have a motion on the floor from one of our council members to table it. I think we had asked that they be here, and I think that's where he's concerned. Just like you said, you're kind of concerned also. We are trying to do the best that we can, and we did make that request. So
Zachary, what we're trying to get into is so they can't come back, like, even though they signed something, but they wasn't here publicly and they don't own the property yet. So I would like them on record stating that they're in agreement, because if we do go into annexation and then they start fighting that and was never here and we just went to the clerk's office, we could end up in a small problem.
I
So.
don't have any problem with it. I just you know, I don't wanna delay the closing at all.
Understand.
Any more comments? I have a motion to table, do I have a second? I don't.
I will second.
Motion made and seconded. Table, all in favor?
Aye.
Justin, I know you said you didn't want to delay that, but we also want to make sure that we're covered also. So that it has been tabled until our next meeting, and will automatically be placed on the agenda for our meeting of April 16th. That would be between you and the buyers. And if for some reason they would happen to come in while we're still in session, I guess we can address that. But as of right now, it's tabled until our next meeting.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for showing up.
Park Department, street closing permit.
Before we move on, there was also a Josh Poole, two properties. We were here at the last meeting. Josh
Yeah.
Poole was the other one.
We did, because he was a property owner, because he did say that, we did tell him that once he signs that, we did approve it on a 5-0 vote. So what we can do is we can leave that at the clerk treasurer's office. And Dave, there you go. I don't know if you've been back in contact with him, but if you could, tell him that this has to be done and signed before we move forward. You have just one.
There's three there. No, it's all right.
Park Department.
A request for street closings, talked to the street department, police and fire, met with them today also. Of course, public safety is always a concern. We think we have most of that worked out. There's a few things we need to look at on it, but I think we're ready to go with the summer concert series. The first one is during the block party, formerly known as Mardi Gras, and that is part of the Chamber of Commerce event. We're just one event that's going on during it, but the rest of them are the concert series.
So Brent, would you explain, I know what you do with the concert series, you're closing that one,
Indiana Street
from-
north to Washington,
correct?
and
And the block party or the Mardi Gras, somebody else will come in and request that particular closing, or are you doing that for them?
Actually-
Done that, or they did that last summer.
yeah, the chamber came in. I think that was in June or July.
Oh,
They came
for
in.
next year?
Yeah,
Is
and
that one of those
Postal,
separate dates?
She didn't wait until the last minute. like
Yeah. And we reviewed that today, and police and fire were also there to review.
Did
what-
we get it,
what
did you
happened.
get a signed off sheet?
We had a signed off, we had a signed off sheet last summer, yes.
Obviously, I love the concert series and I wholeheartedly support it, and I'll make a motion that we close the streets for the concert.
I'll second that motion.
Motion made and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brent.
Dave, I vote. Next item on the agenda is the opening of our sewer line bids. These are the bids requested on lining, steam lining, top lining. I don't know what the actual technical term is, but the west side interceptor, that is the sewer line that runs from Greencastle Road over to behind Kroger's. Is that correct, Dave? Dave previously got us some quotes. The quotes exceeded the threshold for the bid process. Those little dolls. Dave, did you bid this as two projects with the, or did we, is this just the lining of the sewer line? The other was below the threshold, correct? Correct.
At the front of that one, that last envelope had it.
Granite inliner. Is $210,005.
David, and I've forgotten, I apologize, how many people did you send this out to?
Well, we advertise it in the paper, and when you advertise it,
Understand, okay, so how many people bid?
I have.
You don't know? Four, thanks, Danny. Okay.
Next company is Insight Pipe Contracting, INSIGHT.
David, that's why I asked you, because he was having such a tough time getting the envelopes open. I thought maybe I didn't want to have him do two things at once.
Sewer line is still with that, right?
Wait a minute, this is open if low bid, confidential. I know that, I don't know if that means the bid is here or not. That's it. I did not read the instructions, bad, man. You would think that this would be a little bit easier. Total lump sum, $238,148. 238,148. This is some top secret stuff here. All right. their total bid is $231,405. This company is Inland Waters Pollution Control Incorporated. You would think that Sandy would have this all. And their bid is $228,957.50. Council members, that is the last of the bids. Usually what we would do at this point in time is refer them to Dave and anyone who assisted. In this case here, Van Engineering did assist in the elevations and specifications of the line itself, I believe. Helped us to write the specifications. If there are questions for Dave, let's enter now, and if we want to table it and have him advise us, I need a motion on that.
I'll make a motion that we allow Dave time to review this with Van Engineering and then report back to us at our next meeting.
Second?
Motion been made to table and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Dave, can we do this by our next meeting, you think?
You can.
Under unfinished business, I know, Dave, you had called and said you wanted to at least look at, if not act on, our animal control policy. Do you and Dustin want to elaborate on that, please?
Yeah, as you all know, we've been working on drafting a policy for animal control because we didn't have a policy for animal control. I think Mel has done the final review of all of our changes, and I'm ready to see if we can move forward so we can start exploring finding someone to fill that position.
In researching, it was pretty astonishing that we found we didn't have a policy, so we hurried up, and kudos to Mel and Dave for helping correct
Got some good comments back on that too.
Yeah,
and marking up
everyone had good input.
marking up the document that we submitted.
I think, you made the comment, it was, we did not have a policy, and that goes to accolades to Mark.
It really
We didn't
does.
have a policy, and we got by because Mark did it correctly.
And we did include Mark in on the draft of the policy as well. He was at the beginning stages so we even knew what he was doing and understood what he was doing and kind of what concerns were, and so he was very instrumental in helping with that as well.
Well, the question that I did ask you, I don't know that we circulated it a lot, was the past, what Mark earned. I don't know if we were going to amend the salary ordinance to bring that down as far as like to bring that down to a level as a probationary and then bump it up some. Mark had several years here with us as far as expertise and knowledge.
And I didn't have a problem with that. We had talked about, I believe right now it's right at 20,000 and some cents. I think it'd be fair to start out at 15,000 since it is just part-time. make sure that who we're hiring is gonna be a good fit for the position. And then after we get some stability out of them, then to move that up higher at a later date.
Move it up gradually or move it up in increments rather than,
Correct.
and we will address that every year, our salary ordinance.
Yes, it would be part of the budget process.
Comments or questions?
I've looked at it, it's fine with me. I'm fine with it.
I think Mark's volunteering to be the animal control guy.
Say again?
I said, are you volunteering to be the animal control guy?
Let me think about it now.
It really is a position that doesn't get a lot of credit, but is really a needed position. And I definitely know we got lots of police officers in here today, and I know they would be probably ecstatic if we get that moving forward. So
They don't want to do it? I know that you made the corrections, the questions that I had, and I do appreciate that. So what we have before us is a question on whether to approve or not the job description for the animal control officer, and then also whether or not to amend the salary ordinance. And I have that in two motions, or to either approve, deny, or take.
I'll make a motion that we approve the presented policy and that we amend the salary ordinance to $15,000 with a review later.
You want to make it as one motion with two
Yes.
parts? Okay. Motion has been made. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye. I have a question.
Okay.
We're going to send out this job description, and who's going to be the hiring scenario? Who's going to be that person?
That was going to be my next part of this.
Okay. And the other thing that I did want to say, even though I did vote for that, it came two parts, but if we find somebody that has done this in the past, then we could revisit that 15,000 if we have somebody that's, animal control,
In case Mark wants it back.
well,
He had
Mark
time to
did,
sit there and consider.
Mark did a fabulous job, so
He
we
did.
got to move on from that.
Yeah,
So-
I would say that I would be open to adjusting it for qualifications.
Absolutely.
Kind of, I wasn't tweaking your motion.
You wasn't.
Even though I normally do. Well, I think the thing is, though, is we need to, and, obviously, Mr. President, that's up to you, but we need to have form some kind of a committee for these people to sit down with two people or something and then bring a recommendation back to the board.
One of the things, Mark, would you be interested if we do a committee to set on that, as far as, since you have the expertise as well? So
It's a
I
good
think
idea.
that'd be good to participate in.
And I talked with Dustin and Dave signed up for the whole gig.
I said I'd draft a policy.
I make a motion that Dave and Dustin and Mark form that committee and allow them to advertise that. We'll advertise it, and then they come back with a candidate.
But you're not gonna publish probably something. I mean,
You're
people's gotta inquire.
You're
but-
gonna have to tell them.
Well, salary, salary ordinance and, roughly council.
What his question was, is do we want to amend the salary ordinance now, or do we want to wait and see where we're at, do we want to start out at?
I think salaries commensurate with experience. That's kind of where I'd like to leave that.
And not amend the salary ordinance yet. And that's-
But not to be lower than the 15,000, at least to get applicants coming.
I'd leave the leeway with the committee to determine and then come back to us on whether they think it's 15 or 16 or whatever it is. That would be my recommendation, I
Well, I'm
think.
just assuming when someone says, hey, when they ask someone if they want to interview for it, they would have to tell them the starting point. Whether it's a.
I think we could start with 15 and then based on experience, we could probably list it in the posting, something to that extent. Because actually, if you get a seasoned animal control person then we probably want to hire them and pay them that higher
David's hired a couple people, I think he could probably figure that out.
One thing you could do is amend the salary ordinance and put a range in there from 15 to 20,000. And then you hire the person and
Make that.
plug in a number and that's
Thoughts?
I'm fine with that. And then that gives us flexibility.
Yes.
Yeah, I like the range 15 to 20, and depending on experience, I guess.
Justin?
Same sentiment. I'm good with.
Mark?
As I said, commission with experience, if they're worth 20, they're worth, if we, you know, if they're worth 15, they're worth 15. If they're worth 10, then we don't want them. Easy enough.
Okay.
But I rely on these two guys, as my motion was, to that committee to handle that.
And that's to include Mark Taylor as well.
I did.
Okay.
Don't tweak me, David. No, I did. I included him to start with, the three of them.
These two guys.
Then we want that motion to reflect that we're going to change it for that range, 15 to 20,000. And then we're from there.
Correct.
And then the motion for the three of them, Dustin, Dave, and Mark, to start the process of that.
I made the motion. Yeah.
You made that motion?
I did.
Motion been made, I have a second.
I'll second.
Motion made, second, all in favor?
Aye.
You will find Jessica and I will always make a motion if somebody else is going to. Trust me.
Under other business. We have, I kind of want to start out with a little bit of history here. In 1996, there was a referendum on our ballot, and the question was, do you want to abolish the marshal system and become part of a Metropolitan Police Commission? And 80% of the voters said, yes, we do. Now, the game, or not the game, the end result was we were able to, as a community, allow our police and firemen to join the 1977 Police and Fire Fund. At the time, we bought back time to age 35. We did buy that back for all of our officers that had been there from that beginning of time. At that point, the council kind of gave up, and I'm trying to word that properly, transferred the oversight of the police department to our Metropolitan Police Commission. Metropolitan Police Commission is a 3-member board at this time. It is a bi-party board. And that board is appointed by the Mooresville Town Council. Duties and tasks of that board are to oversee the standard operating procedures, set up the guidelines, the hiring, firing, and discipline. I believe it's over 5 days of discipline. They also make a recommendation to this council as far as in the event of a decision on the administration portion of it. This council does either approve or reject the police commission's recommendations. What we've had over the past year is the loss of some of our officers. The question has come up, what are those reasons? Why are they leaving? I was concerned whether or not that this was something that was exclusive to Mooresville, or whether this was something that other communities shared. And other communities do share it. I don't know if it's for the same reason. Right now, ILEA has 28 departments that are looking for police officers. And this goes all the way from the Pokagon Tribal Council up in South Bend, all the way down to Warwick County Sheriff's Department, down in Boonville or Newburgh. So it's something that all the communities are suffering from. I wanted to explain that because I wanted to get to the council, or ask the council for their either blessing or permission or thoughts to respectfully and humbly request from our police commission to delve into this just a little bit deeper. Whether this is a exit interview type scenario, whether we talk to all of the officers that have left, who will hopefully speak freely, whether we, I think the idea had been rolled around as far as a secret ballot or a secret survey, an anonymous survey. I just want to make sure that everyone realizes that the council does see that we are losing officers, and we want to know why. It may be something that we, as a community, are losing talented employees to bigger departments that offer bigger and better things to our employees. We might find out that it's something that we may have an opportunity to fix or enhance. So I guess I'm asking for a motion from the council to approach our Metropolitan Police Commission and either share those sentiments or other sentiments that I may not have at this time.
I'll make a motion that we.
Can I
Oh,
say
go
something?
ahead.
Sorry. I just want to make it clear that if the officers are asked questions, that there are no repercussions for their ideas or concerns if it is brought up to each officer, which I think each officer should be questioned. So my concern is, I brought to my attention that they need to have the reassurance that they will not get any repercussions for their ideas, their concerns. Is there any way we can put that in this motion?
I think we could add that to the request
Right.
to them. You have a good department.
I'm not taking away from the department.
I'm
I just,
not either, but what I'm saying is, I want to hold all of our officers to a higher standard, and that's every one of them. From the administration down to
Right.
the lowest higher.
and it's,
So I would hope.
right, and it's not a one, I mean, the department should not be ran by one person. It's everyone as a whole, and everyone should be happy, and everyone should be able to say their concerns and not feel like there should be repercussions because of their concerns. And it's been brought to my attention that is a concern, so I want to make sure that that is handled properly.
Okay.
Can you articulate that?
I love to talk.
So I'll make a motion for Tom to approach the police commission to start this process, to include Jessica's concerns as well, to make sure that's articulated to the police commission during this review process.
Motion been made, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
I am requesting at this time, Danny, to be placed on your agenda. Council members, before you, you have a manila envelope, and I have no idea where mine got to. Mel, what did you do with that? Nope, do not. Sandy has placed this in our trust and given each and every one of us a report. This is our annual report of both our complete entire town and our TIF area. That is pursuant to Indiana Code 36-7-14-13, that this will be placed in the hands of the council members, and will actually both go on. We'll both go on to Gateway just as promptly as Sandy can get that done. The council members have anything else? Legal.
Nothing additional?
Department heads.
permission to start a process. We have a vacancy on our department at this time, and as you all know, the length of time it takes, I'd like to ask your permission to fill that full-time vacancy.
Questions or comments?
No, I'll make a motion, as we've done in the past, just to make sure the chief's been good about making sure our funds are balanced out appropriately and,
Yes.
and exhaust that. So with that, I make a motion that we approve the chief to find another replacement.
I will second.
Motion made and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chief.
You already had your turn, right?
I know, but he said department head, so. No, I want to thank the sheriff's department for, we're using community corrections this month to the tune of about 500 hours of labor. And so we're hitting a lot of major projects that need to be done, get the aquatic center ready, get dead trees down, work on all kinds of equipment. So we appreciate that because we wouldn't be able to get it done otherwise without that assistance. And we're also running about 15 part-time employees short on our before and after school program. So, you know, if anybody, send them our way. We're advertising. We're looking for people through the summer too. We get up to full staff this summer. We're looking at right around 100 part-time employees for the town.
Is that 15 for the rec and you?
Yes. Yep. So people that like to get up early and work inconvenient hours, we're the people that come to. So, thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, Brett.
Dave, I overlooked you last week, I apologize, or last meeting.
We are currently in the process of sweeping streets. We started a couple weeks ago, but then Saturday night kind of surprised us and we went back up and do it again. I provided each of you a schedule for this year's paving and storm pipe and concrete work. I think we're going to start on Bridge Street this week with some stormwater piping. And we have, we've been in the process of planting several hundred small trees. There's a field east of the cemetery. Going to fill that full of trees to make it a more serene look there. So we,
Nicer.
If you look at the map that he gave us, I do want to point one thing out that I want to thank Dave. I want to thank Danny as much as it kills me to do that. If you look at that first, what we got here, the action ID 1010, storm sewer on Bridge Street. I'm not wanting to go past being ecstatic about it, but what we're hoping for is that is the one area that we've had some troubles with flooding. And we think that this project will get the water from that what comes out there to where Wheeler and Bridge, bring it down and put it in the creek. We're going to move it via underground piping, and I hope this is going to go a long ways. This is something that's long overdue, and it's taken us a while to get there, but it just took us this long to get the funding and the engineering and everything together. Dave has been working on this since 2017, the last time that we had a major flood. I called one of the residents there, and I asked her politely, I said, when your neighbors complain about the noise and the dust and the rough roads, defend us. And she said she would. She promised that she would. So I think it's a long time coming. That's the most exciting part of that project. Thank you, Dave.
well, see, we're still working on the ditch project. It's a very lengthy project.
Get a lot of good comments about it too.
Great, thanks.
Any more department heads?
Tom, I had one comment I should have done. You asked our department heads, our council members a while ago. Our generator now is installed at the PD. They've set it, the crane set it. It's the permanent heating's in. I did see a Facebook chat the other day that typically it'd probably be our normal 5 years, and it will not be 5 years. I think we'll have it done in 2.5 or 3.
2.5 or 3. There you go.
We should be operational, I would hope, in the May timing. We've got a few other things to go, but it's really starting to shape up.
Maybe we can start siphoning gas out of the fire trucks, have them fill up the school, and
This is a little bigger tank than our other one, so you know, that's one thing that we do have with the generator. We will be able to power that whole building, so that will be a safe place if something happens. I mean, we'll be able to have a command center to the north, which we really couldn't have before, so I'm pretty excited about that.
okay. Anything else?
That's all I have.
Public comments.
I got that.
Okay,
You want me to come up here?
please.
Okay. Well, maybe I guess it's more like a gripe or something, I guess.
Okay.
I just moved down here in June last year. We bought a home over here by the Toyo plant. And whenever we bought it, we wasn't aware that like the Toyo plant like had some noise going on like from a press or something like that. And it goes on all through the night. And I mean, there is like maybe a few days a month where they'll stop it. And usually those few days a month is the few days a month that you know are in peace. Like, cause if you want to come out on your porch or something at night and sit with your family or something, you can't sit out there and do it peacefully. My neighbor next to me, he's lived in his home since '98, and I just bought my home. He's talking about moving because of the noise and stuff. And he was actually supposed to come up here tonight too, but he didn't show up. But and then other than that, it's right there across the bridge on Charmel, right at the light of Toyo's where I live, right there. And I was wondering if maybe like with the noise of some of the trucks that come through there with the engine brakes and stuff, you know, like some of the other little towns like Avon, Plainfield and stuff, they have the signs that say, you know, no engine brake, no, you know, stuff like that. If maybe we could get some of those up through there. I mean, I drive a semi for the post office, so I'm not trying to deliberately pick on the truck drivers. You know, that's a hard job too, but you know, they come into the town and the brakes on the engines and stuff are made more or less for hills and stuff like that, and you can hear them come through there at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. You know, 5, 6 o'clock in the morning even too, and I work the second shift. And, you know, there's just a lot of noise through there. And that Toyo plant, I mean, I don't know exactly what the noise ordinance in Mooresville is, but, I mean, it's got to be some kind of time limit where they'd either have to shut it down for the night, you know, or maybe put in more of some kind of sound barrier, or maybe even move it to a further in location in the building to where it doesn't come out as much, you know, so. Those are the concerns that I have, and I didn't know what we could do to maybe get some action called towards it.
Is that all right if I go ahead?
Yeah, that's fine.
I think we can actually address, at least try to figure out if they have changed something that maybe they're not aware of. They have been good corporate neighbors for the town of Mooresville. I don't know if maybe it's something that we can bring to their attention. The engine braking system, the Jake brake, if you will, was designed years and years ago by a man by the name of Jacob. And what bothers me about saying we're not going to do that, we don't want them to allow that, is I want to give each and every one of the truck drivers every possible tool that they have in their arsenal to stop a truck, especially at that intersection. So, you know, I have seen those, you know, no engine braking, no combustion braking, but I'm concerned there, especially with that being on the grade that it's on, and I think you can appreciate that as much as anyone since you're a driver. I think it's something we could possibly look at, but in the past we've always been worried about, you know, taking away an opportunity to get that truck stopped. That's our only concern there. I think some of the cowboys like you know probably play a little more than what they should with it, not using it properly.
Some trucks are just, the thing is like some of these older trucks, like that, most of the people coming from that south end of town, you know, down there, they're using that, a lot of those old ones don't have mufflers on them or anything like that. They're all straight piped. And, you know, these grain haulers and all that stuff that's coming out of there, you know, they're just, you know, it's not like a lot of the newer equipment, you know, that a lot of these guys are using. They're not the concerns. You know, it's all them ones, and like you said, these guys know these areas real well. They traveled them most of their whole life, you know, same way as me. You know, I've been driving a truck since '98. And, you know, I like you said, I mean, taking something away from them, that'd be cause for concern if they was in the middle of the mountains or something like that. But whenever they're kind of like, it's, you know, it's kind of like throwing a baseball and football game. It's really not what it's used for. It's being properly used.
Yeah, I think some of them are playing a little more than they should.
Yeah.
I kind of agree with him. I think that that if they're going to need that from the danger point, then of course we want them to do it. But if you put a sign up there and say we're not allowed to do it, and then if they have to do it from the danger aspect, then they're going to do it anyway. So, you know, if we can eliminate that right in that area, can we do that on a, Chief, can we do that on a state highway? Or do you know?
I believe we have a local ordinance against the use of jailbreaks in town.
Okay.
There's no signs though. And,
Okay.
But if we had the signs up, you know, not, you know, 100% of them's not going to stop it, you know, but if they didn't, I mean, it could bring, you know, you could get, you know, police officers could stop them even instead of having to stop all the local people to, you know, get the funding that they need. And, you know, they can ticket the guys and for not using them, you know, and stuff like that, you know, and so it's kind of like a good and a bad thing for everybody. You know, it helps out the town even if somebody did get stopped for using a jailbreak, you know, because then the money would go to your town.
Fundraiser.
Hey, and you can, whenever they ticket the truck drivers, they ticket them big, you know. It's not like you're gonna ticket them $135 for speeding.
Does
Can we
council,
enforce an ordinance on a state road?
That's why I just asked.
Yeah.
I think we can.
I don't know, Mel, you're gonna have to help me out here.
I think we can.
Can we make it stricter than a state statute?
Not on a state road, I don't think you can. I'll check on that, but I don't think you can.
How about we give you our word and we'll check on that?
Yeah, that's fine. That's why I came up here, because, you know, other than that, those two things are the only concerns that I have. I mean, everything else, I love being down here. We love it, but, you know, whenever, you know, like that, and honestly, the jailbreak issue is probably second in my concerns, because the Toyo deal, man, that right there is just not even really fair to people, you know, because.
Do you hear it 24, I mean, do you hear it?
Yeah, almost, I mean, 24, you can go out to your mailbox, stand there talking to your neighbor, and I mean, it's just pounding away. You know, you can be sitting on your porch, and it's pounding away. You could be out, you know, on your sunroom, and it's just pounding away. And it's like a bearing press or something, you know, and sometimes they're either using it a little lighter and putting a little less pressure or something on it, and there's sometimes it's just extremely loud and it just echoes right across the street. You know,
in direction too, may have some adverse effect to you.
yeah, it's possible, but I'm not sure exactly what it is. But you know, I mean, I don't care if they, you know, what they do, as long as they can get that noise to, you know, even if they could, you know, get it calmed down a lot, you know, maybe either move it to a different part of the building where, you know, because there's more businesses, you know, over like where they're at right there behind Kroger rather than houses. So it would even be better if the businesses was hearing it more than people, you know. But I mean, you know, they can build masonry walls, you know, for sounds that absorb sound, anything that, you know, you could, you know, push it to do it, you know, regardless.
We'll address that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mark, I know your relationship with Toa has been outstanding over the years. Like I said, I think that they've been a good corporate neighbor. I don't know if this is just a blind, you know, just some oversight or something.
Jessica, David, Tom.
Akers.
I have children that live here. My family lives here. And from the bottom of my heart, I want to thank all of you for taking the proper steps to at least get the ball rolling on why we are losing so much of people that are very important in our community, which is our police officers. The ones we have now work their tails off for this community, and most of the time, we don't see it, which is good. Because normally when you're dealing with a police officer, you're dealing with one on your worst day. And when I call the police for an issue at my house or surrounding, I want one to show up that's competent, that knows the town, that knows the community, and has a connection here. I just want to thank you guys for these men and women that are busting their butts in this town, and we're losing them. Now, I can't speak for their reasons why they're leaving. I can only speak on my own. And I'm telling you, if they all start falling off one by one, we're going to get officers that aren't quite up to speed, that might make that wrong decision, that could affect each and every one of our lives. And it's so important, even if it was the fire department, our community safety. And the fact that you guys made a motion tonight to get that going, from the bottom of my heart, thank you.
Anyone know who that was? Anything else?
Okay, one step back. Since we have, I think, half the police force here, would anybody be willing to take me on a ride along, and I will ensure whatever said will remain with me?
Oh, don't do it. I've rode with him before.
Mark raised his hand. Okay, may I schedule with you? I will take it up with the chief. There. I'm done. Go ahead.
Motion for payment of claims.
I'll make a motion that we approve claims in the amount of $436,626.18.
Motion been made. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Our next meeting will be April 16, 2019. Nope. I was gonna say, before closing, I was gonna ask if the buyers of the property showed up. They didn't.
No.
Motion to adjourn.
I'll make said motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Thank you, everybody, for coming out.
She is. She's like, we'll put you.
Just think about the West Coast Fund, we have flexed the day drive. I had.
Yeah. My dad.